Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this
Good
fine
afternoon
new
or
year?
good evening. Yes. I am doing amazingly well in this brand new baby year. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazingly well as well in this brand new baby year.
Wonderful. Welcome to the RANT. This is Radically Affirmative New Thought with
That is indeed what this
Dr.
is.
Jonathan Zenz and me, Rev Steph.
Rev
So
Steph
great
St.
to be
Amand,
here with
Saint
you.
Steph.
Saint Amand. Oui.
Saint Amand.
Saint
Yeah.
Amand. Je m'appelle Steph. And that's it. That's my French. So grateful that you
French
are
as
here.
well.
It's hilarious because I'm on day 833 of Duolingo French.
Oh yeah.
And that's my French. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
You
if
need
you're
somebody to
watching, go
practice
ahead
with.
and hit the share button.
Yes, share. You need
Share.
somebody to practice your French with. And I know someone is watching now who actually speaks French.
Oh.
And yes. I'm not giving them up to as someone who would, be available to work with you, but you never know.
For sure. Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome. This is where we have radically affirmative new thoughts and have a conversation and maybe have put into practicality this thing that is spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
So grateful to be here with you. If you are watching on Facebook, go ahead, love, like, whatever is your favorite emoji. Go ahead and hit that right now. Let us know you're watching. On Facebook, you want to hit that share button, get us out into the world, because who doesn't need a radical new thought? And if you're watching on YouTube, give us the thumbs up. There is another button, but this is the one we want to see you press. Thumbs up there for sure. Thumbs up there for sure. Yeah. So, and welcome to our space, our safe space where we can explore conscious conversations about stuff. We've talked about a lot of different things, and we do depend on all of you watching to give us ideas, and help us think new things. What do you want to talk about? We love it.
And I want to be clear. We did get a nice email, so there is something that we are going to cover today. But if there's anything that's coming up for you that you can put it into the chat function there, wherever you're watching. It does occur to me. Oh, I've got to do a thing. Hold on.
Yeah, you got to open the other screen.
Yeah, I've got to, because I try to monitor the chat on Unity of Tucson's homepage, because let's see, there's that.
Well, we've got some chat. We've got some commenters here. Hey, William.
Yes.
Good morning to a couple of magnificent peeps. Oh, you're talking to yourself, William.
I'm like, a couple? Well, there's lots of us watching, so we're all magnificent peeps.
Yes. And Anita, sunshine and hearts. Hello, Anita. Good to be with you. Andy. Hi. Exclamation point. See, I've watched The Circle, and they have to spell them out like they dictate. Right. So exclamation point. I love you guys. We love you too, Andy. Yes. William, are you serious? Day
219.
2219 of Duolingo Spanish. Wow. That's a lot of days, you all. That's a lot of days. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. That's like, that's a lot of days.
I think about how much Spanish I picked up when I was in Spain, and a lot of it, if you're forced in the experience, you can, you can retain it if you're immersed in it. That's why immersive learning is the best, I think, when it comes to language. Because unless you're using it all the time, like I've forgotten a bunch that I learned when I was in Spain a year and a half ago. Yeah. Yes, there it is. My comment of walking the Camino, which is a joke that I can't go 2 seconds without talking about it.
It's like Wallowitz and being an astronaut. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an amazing experience that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life.
It absolutely is. And I am going to carry it with me the rest of my life. Like there is no doubt. I posted on my Facebook page a picture of me on day 8 when I was like sitting on a bench and like just taking in like the sun, taking this moment. And I talked about the nature of the Camino and how challenged I was feeling in the moment, because the thing happened in New Orleans on early morning of New Year's Day, and I was feeling a little challenged by that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The behavior, because I don't, a lot of people say, well, it's evil expressing. I'm like, well, evil is not a thing in and of itself. People behave in ways that we would describe as evil. I think that was an evil act, but it is not born out of evil as an entity. Evil is not an entity. So,
yeah.
But I was posting how challenged I was by that kind of thing, and that it always makes me think of being on the Camino, where care, cooperation, hospitality, like all of these things it's like being in a world within a world. And that sometimes I get to this point where I'm like, gosh, I just wish I was back on the Camino so I could just be immersed in that world. I was like, but wait, that's a consciousness. It's just a consciousness. And so if I'm willing to allow myself to live from the point of view of that consciousness, then I actually am like living the Camino spirit in my whole life. And so that's part of what I seek to do every day, live the Camino spirit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. Live in the Camino spirit.
Live in the Camino spirit.
Maybe kind of a great segue to
that's my book title, or a book title. I come up with so many book titles.
I know, me too. I have a list of them. I'm going to be writing like 37 books so far.
Yeah.
But great segue to the comment or the question, the thought for today.
So I'll read the question.
Okay.
So this comes from our magnificent, glorious friend Beryl, her Berylness. I like to call her.
Her Berylness, yes.
Takes that in and wears that with great love. She wrote this. She said, how does self-love contribute to the philosophy of New Thought? So that's one question. There's a second question. Yeah. And I think we should address these as independent questions. And she put we in quotes, how do we as a global community harness this powerful, radical new thought? And in parentheses, she put for some, because new thought is not so new, right?
Yeah.
How do we as a global community harness this powerful, radical new thought as a beacon for all of humanity? One thing I can say, you've already answered your own question. If you live from the consciousness of self-love, which translates into love of all, because how can you love yourself and love no one else? I don't think that that's possible personally. Then you actually are a beacon, and you become the we in the expression of the me. Make sense? What do you think, Steph?
What you just said reminded me of something multiple people have said to me. You can either be a beautiful example or a glorious warning, right? So no matter who you are in this day, you're being an example of something. And so what is it that you want to be an example of? And for me, self-love and radical self-acceptance is everything. It is the New Thought teaching.
Yeah.
To be it's also very Taoist, like, non-attachment, non-resistant, and radical acceptance of what is. And so it is very Tao. But so is New Thought, because we teach oneness and interconnectedness with all life. There is nothing separate. Yeah. So when I learn to love myself, because we are taught how to not love ourselves, right? Like most of the things we're healing as adults happened to us before we were 4 years old. That's science. That's psychology, right? It's there's studies, there's research. I love all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so the world didn't exist beyond me when I didn't like myself. It was.
Wait, say that again?
The world did not exist beyond me when I didn't like myself. I was always focused on all of my failings, all of my falling downs. I was self-loathing, and everything that was going on in my depressed and anxious mind was revolved around me. So when I started to branch out, I started to read books, I started to wake my mind up, I started to shake off that self-loathing, and I started learning, like, maybe I'm worth something different. That's when the world opened up to me. So until I started loving myself, there wasn't anyone else out there for me to love, because I was so focused on all the things that I was wrong about, all the like my limitation and my lack. That was my whole world. People beyond a block from me didn't exist. So when I learned how to love myself, my compassion meter began to also evolve. And I began to see other people like me. Oh, I'm not the only one hurting. Oh, I'm not the only one on a journey. Oh, right. So that's why we focus on in New Thought, in communities, we tend to find a New Thought community because we are feeling broken, alone, or we're looking for something. So we find a community, and then we can start learning. It's a very self-focused teaching. And until I learned how to start liking myself, is a very different world. And now, because I've learned how to be more loving and more kind to myself, it's easy for me to see that in other people, to be a reflection of that love outwardly. So that's self-love is the only, like, in my mind, and this is my opinion, it doesn't have to be anyone else's opinion. In my mind, self-actualization, self-love, and figuring our stuff out is the key to a more peaceful world in its totality. Because when I find love and have peace in my own life, it's a ripple effect. Everything is energy. We expand what we are.
So I have so many thoughts that have just come up. So first of all, I'm going to go back to, I want to go back to how you sort of started this, which was to talk about, the nature that many of us have had experiences of this. I can certainly look back at my time in life and say, there was this point at which where, my challenge in the experience of life was totally rooted in feelings of self-pity, of like, oh my gosh, life is so hard, and like, I got to just get through it, and blah, 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 blah. Like, this is all before New Thought for me, before I discovered and came into the New Thought philosophy. And that the antidote to that poison essentially was adopting self-love. Mm-hmm. And I think many people look at people in New Thought and they think, oh my gosh, it's such a selfish philosophy, because we do really promote the notion of self-love. But you know what? What you really just elucidated for me is that when we are rooted in the consciousness of self-pity, of disrespecting ourselves, of really keeping the focus entirely on how horrible and hard life is, that's actually the selfish thing. Yes. Because we're looking, I think, ultimately, whether we are aware of it or not, we are sucking the energy out of others for sympathy, to elicit sympathy, so that we can start to try to bolster ourselves up. It is the age old, I'm trying to determine and develop my good based on something outside of myself. And the only thing that can turn that around is self-love, which then for me actually becomes a selfless point of view. It is the ultimate selfless point of view, because when I love myself, then I can participate in loving the universe, loving the world around me, loving other people. but I cannot love other people. I cannot love the experience of life unless I am living in the consciousness of self-love. And so I always will think back to the quote of RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love anyone else? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
So, I think some people look at New Thought and they're like, oh, those people are so selfish. But I think it's actually the most selfless thing we can do to really be rooted in self-love, because that does give us the capacity to be in the creative mode of support and cooperation and all the things, and care and all the things that we seek to experience as, people who are rooted in this philosophy. That's what we seek, I think. And again, you're right. It's my opinion.
Yeah. And who the heck am I?
You are the infinite divine expression of wholeness.
I know.
Steph St. Amand.
Yep. I know who I am. Yep. I know. And that's just it. Your awakening is the greatest gift you can give the whole world. Your awakening is the greatest gift you can give the whole world. How is that selfish?
Right.
You waking up, because I know the path isn't easy. We don't just snap our fingers and we're woke. We have to do work. A lot of us, like me, I have done a lot of work, and I still am working to clear out the societal distribution of false information into my mind, to translate it to love only. Forgive everything. And remember who you are.
That sounds like a really lovely mission statement.
Right. So I take that to heart, that my gift to everyone around me is to be the best version of myself. And that's a person who's awake and present for the moment, present for you, present for myself. Learning how to love myself is the greatest journey a person could ever take. And I hope it finds everyone. I hope self-love finds everyone, because that's how we are going to change the whole entire planet.
Right.
And give me my 100th monkey. Right.
And I think that, can I just invite the idea that we let go of the notion that self-love is seeking us, that if we live from the point of view of self-love, then, there's no seeking. It is simply an acceptance of that which is inherent. It's so funny. You and I, we were having a discussion. So of course, what pops into my mind? Scripture. Even though before we got on live, where I was saying, I'm so I'm ready to release the notion that we have to, contort ourselves to find metaphysical and metaphorical interpretations of Scripture as part of the spiritual path. I'm happy to do it if there's relevance and value in it, but I want us to have new thoughts and to be able to express from the new point of view. So it makes me think of, the scripture verse. God so loved the world that he gave. And now I'm going to be really clear that I'm going to state it as it is commonly understood, and then I'm going to do the metaphorical and metaphysical interpretation. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so that the world could have, so that the world could be saved. Essentially, is the idea. And of course, I'm not quoting it accurately, but
as we do.
The metaphysical interpretation of that is the nature of the divine is love itself. And so through the power of love, the givingness is it's creative. And it's not just the one son, but the sonship, the progeny of the infinite is the expression of all creation. That is who and what we are. We're each and every one of us part of that. And as we acknowledge that, then what is it we need to be saved from? But anything that is unlike that, any erroneous thought. That's how I interpret that passage. It is not, well, traditionalists will say it is about Jesus. I think that there's a deeper metaphorical meaning within that, personally. And so
he would too.
Absolutely, he would. Absolutely. You've got some comments coming in here.
Yes.
Yeah. Audrey, do we have to learn ourself or dissolve the blocks of awareness. The journey itself is the journey. So first of all, I always have a little moment when I see the words "do we have to." Well, have to is as though there's some demand. You get to decide.
Yeah, freedom.
So let go of the notion that there's any demand from outside the self. If you decide that that is what you have to do, then yes. And I think that those things go hand in hand. Learning ourself and dissolving the blocks to that awareness, they go hand in hand. As we dissolve the blocks of awareness, we are learning to love ourself. And you wrote expansion, learn to love ourself, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, we learn to love ourselves by dissolving the blocks that hold back the awareness of that self-love. That's, yeah. We just have initials here, AR, self-love needs self-awareness. And so it is.
Yes. Self-love needs self-awareness. Absolutely.
On display. And so it is.
Yeah. And so it is. Yeah. Self-love needs self-awareness.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Life needs self-awareness. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, awareness is everything. Ernest Holmes said, awareness is the destination.
Well, he wasn't the only one.
He wasn't the only one. I know. Like, we keep going back. I heard there was a group of people in a video doing kind of what we do. And they've been doing it longer than we have. But she was saying a joke. What do you call a book club that only studies one book? A church.
A church.
It's a book club. And but there's so many books. And like this is 60 years old or 50, 60 years old. And we have to translate language from just 50 years ago because we are a different, the people in their youth and their 20s right now are different people than you and I.
What?
Yep. There's a whole new way of being. And it's taken me 17 years to translate Science of Mind to a more radical way of being and absorbing all the things. Like I came to New Thought from a pagan background. And before I was a pagan for 13 years, I was a Christian, baptized in a lake, right? Not just a little cup. I was baptized in a lake.
What denomination was it?
United Church of Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The easy folks.
Easy folks.
Yeah. No hardships there. And so I have been a seeker my whole life from the get-go, and my mom could see that, and she just was constantly reminding me, just go seek. I don't care what you believe in, find something to believe in, right? And so I was always motivated in that way. So I would say even now, New Thought is such a loose term. It was forged from Christianity. It was a bunch of angry people. They were angry at their denomination, and they started a new thing, right? This Emerson, the Transcendentalist movement, they're all coming from a Christian background. And so now it's easier for me to translate Emerson and Troward and Ernest Holmes than it is for me to go back to, my leather bound tissue paper like book and try to figure out how to maneuver through life stories that do not resonate with me or make sense. Yeah. You have to find what it is that resonates with you, whether it's New Thought or any other faith tradition or no faith tradition. Find something that makes you come alive and do that. Yeah. That's it. So, self-love makes me come alive. Being loving to other people, loving to oh my goodness, plants, animals, rocks. I love everything. And so, translate the best you can. Yeah. And find what works for you.
And I think, I'm a huge proponent of find what works. You know, I will be the first to say that you know, my approach to spirituality is not for everyone, and I'm fine with that. It resonates with those for whom it resonates.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I don't want to put in a requirement that people find a path or a non-path, but I think it's part of the experience of being that we are seekers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I always say that what brings many people to a spiritual community is oftentimes the question of, well, what happens beyond? What is there beyond this physical incarnation? You know, oftentimes that question is rooted in what happens after we die, but it really is the greater question of what is beyond what I perceive to be the physicalness of this universe, of my experience. What is beyond my skin and bones? Because there's an aliveness, there's a livingness to me that I don't understand. And so that's what usually I think brings people to a spiritual path. But find what works in helping you uncover the answers to those questions in a way that resonates with you perfectly. And I will never tell you that you are wrong for thinking differently than I think.
Yeah.
That would be ludicrous. And so, you know, each week I joke about this all the time because I mention it a lot, but I think it's always worth mentioning repeatedly that on Sundays, I start the service off here at Unity of Tucson by saying, I'm not here to tell you what to think, and I'm not here to tell you what to believe. You get to decide on that. Here's the philosophy that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to offer the teachings.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very careful to never say we believe, even though that is a very common phrase, even in New Thought circles. I absolutely disagree with using that phrase, we believe. It is an assumption that I'm not willing to make. I will express what I believe. You get to decide what you believe. And I will often say, here's what we teach.
Yeah.
If you want to take that on as a belief, that is entirely up to you.
Yeah. And I finish every class I teach, I finish with question everything, including your own thoughts, right? Yeah. Because like stay in the adventure. Yeah. That aliveness that you're talking about is right here too. As we oh my goodness, that was just totally morbid. As we slowly deteriorate this physical body, because it is a finite experience, which can last a very long time. We have no idea how long it can last because people keep proving us wrong, right? So that aliveness is right here, right now. And so no matter what it is you're looking for, my hope for you, dear beloved listener and loved one, is that it brings you love, it brings you joy, it brings you peace. Like if it doesn't bring those things to you, and that's what you're looking for, then keep looking.
Yeah.
You know, keep looking. Because the spirituality should all language. The benefit of spirituality, in my experience, is a more peaceful, loving, kind world in my life, in my experience, and in the outer experience as well, right? So go ahead. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Katie. Happy New Year. Yes, we are awareness.
Yes. Yeah. Baptized JW. Yeah. Here's a famous quote. Remember the famous quote, there's a seeker born every minute. Yeah.
So can I talk about that real quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously that is a riff off of, you know, the quote, which is actually there's a sucker born every minute, which is attributed oftentimes to P.T. Barnum, Phineas Taylor Barnum. Notice that name, Phineas. There's also another famous Phineas in the New Thought movement, Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, who is often considered the father of New Thought because of the way that he took the works of Anton Mesmer and defined them in a way that, you know, welcomed this notion that we could heal the physical body with consciousness and through consciousness and conscious awareness. But Phineas Taylor Barnum. Barnum himself actually was interested in New Thought principles. Did you know that?
This is the first time I've heard this name. So
Barnum and Bailey's, the Ringling Brother Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Oh yes.
Phineas Taylor Barnum was basically went in. So the movie The Greatest Showman is all about Barnum.
Oh, okay. Haven't
That's
seen
who
it.
we're talking about. So the notion of New Thought was not unknown to Barnum, and he actually was very interested in New Thought. Now, I also did. There's a musical that existed before The Greatest Showman, a Broadway musical called Barnum from the 1980s, and I did a revival of that musical in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area back in 2006-ish. Yeah, it was about 2006. I played one of the clowns in it. I didn't play Barnum. I understudied Barnum. But anyway, I'm just, making all these connections with there is a seeker born every minute, which I think is a much better approach to the quote than what Barnum is purported to have said, which is there's a sucker born every minute.
Yeah.
And there's a song in Barnum called There's a Sucker Born Every Minute.
Awesome.
All right. That's my little musical theater rant.
Yeah, there's a musical theater rant. Boom. Oh my goodness. So everybody, let's check in. How are you doing? We've ranted for 30 minutes so far. I'm gonna pull this up. It looks like Brian Black is blocked from commenting except for here. The joys of being canceled. I don't know who's blocked you, Brian, but it wasn't us. So
nope.
You're not canceled over here. Rant away. We
Not
don't cancel people. That's not our belief or philosophy at all.
Nope.
That would not be a radically affirmative new thought. Canceling people is kind of the opposite. The opposite of a radically affirmative new thought.
Yes.
That's canceling the conversation or closing down any mindful, thoughtful, conscious conversation that could possibly happen. I will never cancel anyone. And I'm sorry that others have, so much so that you feel canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, Brian, that your 2025 is going to be spectacular, and lean into that.
Yes. I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. Yes.
Yeah, when cancel culture started, I was like, yeah, it's fascinating. You just say one wrong thing and you're deleted, unfriended.
I find it so irritating that this has become such a, I find it irritating. I just find the whole thing irritating.
Yes.
It basically is. Here's the thing. If we think that we all need to agree, then we're going to be sorely disappointed in the experience of life, because you're never going to find people who agree with you wholly. You'll find people who have similar states of mind and similar agreements, but this whole notion that it's my way or the highway, and how pervasive it has become in every aspect of this culture is really disappointing to me. So let us be, and here's where I go back to that first. I'm going to go back to that first thing that came up when Beryl said, "How do we as a global community harness this powerful, radical new thought as a beacon for all of humanity?" We must be, essentially, I'm going to use the quote, we must be the change we wish to see in the world.
Yeah.
That we must become the radical self-love that translates into love of humanity, love of all, so that we can let go of this notion that we, are rooted in, that we have to have disagreement, that we have to, all agree. We're going to have disagreements. Steph and I have disagreements. Did you know that? Steph and I don't agree on every
It was
single
like 3 times.
There have been times when we've gotten into some,
yeah, for sure,
discussions.
Yeah. I love lively discussions. For New Year's for New Year's Eve, we Tammy and I, we do gratitudes, like what are we grateful for this past year. And one of mine was just so silly, because I'm so grateful for this YouTube channel called Smosh. Now, and Smosh, it's an ensemble cast. It's been on for 20 years. Like when YouTube first started, Ian and Anthony started this channel, and so it's evolved a lot. But but Smosh today, like I have watched so much Smosh this past year, and so they're funny. They're it's just like commentary, but they have different kinds of things, and they do a lot of great things. But because of Smosh, I have seen other things and have new ideas and new thoughts and new ways of being. Like it's a comedy troupe, but comedy is a way into my heart for sure. I love laugh. I love laughter. I love to laugh. I love making other people laugh. So when I found this crew, I was like, oh my goodness, these people are freaking hilarious. And then, but because of them, I found things like a show called Smarty Pants on Dropout. And Smarty Pants is just a group of intellectual comedians making presentations to each other. And some of them are ridiculous. And one of them, I believe, was like, how to ensure you get canceled. Right? Like if you're like, live your best life. Do not let other outside distractions interfere with who you are. And who cares if you get canceled? If you get canceled, they're not for you. They're not your people.
I've been canceled, and I
have been canceled.
I say blessings on your journey.
Yeah. I have been canceled. Before the cancel culture came out, I equated it to being thrown away. I like there's been times in my life, like whole friend groups threw me away. And it's like, just because I'm growing or I'm changing or I'm shifting my perspective from that experience, like it's like I have lost groups and communities of people multiple times because I am on this path of spirituality, waking spirit up in my awareness. And so because I'm willing to grow and other people aren't, it's okay to get canceled. It's okay. Yeah. They're not your people.
Well, and the thing this also makes me think of is if we are assessing our sense of value based on other people's opinions, we are constantly going to be disappointed in life, because it is not from the point of view of self-love, of understanding the value of who we are. And I talk about all the time, trying to derive happiness from outside circumstances is a losing game. That what I think,
it's impossible.
It's impossible. What I think is, when I come from a consciousness of joy and happiness and self-love, everything in my sphere begins to be reflective of that inner consciousness. But the minute I forget about the inner consciousness and I try to grab it from outside the self, I have now I've now allowed myself to go into a sense of mind that is ephemeral, essentially. And the minute that thing out there disappears, what am I left with? The one thing I'm always left with is my own consciousness. It's my own consciousness. And so it is my responsibility to be in a state of mind of self-love, and to, let the things in my life be the reflection of that which is within, the inner joy and the inner harmony and the inner peacefulness and the inner love. That's essentially what happens. Yeah.
And there's so many great books and processes out there to get to this place. Like the Byron Katie work, the work. And, like,
is it true? Is it really true? I mean, if you were able to work through those 2 questions and not even do the rest of the other 3 questions, 5 questions total, like if you just did those 2 questions in every instance of your life, boy, what a life-changing consciousness that can be. I appreciate the work of Byron Katie, and I think about the time that she was a guest at a conference, a CSL conference.
In
2009, I think it was, when we were in San Diego. And it was interesting because there was quite a backlash of people who were really not feeling it. And she was going through the work with somebody, and the perception was the idea of people were perceiving it as though she was blaming the victim for the experience. And that's not at all what she was doing. She was inviting a new consciousness. And a lot of people walked out of that session. It was really fascinating to watch. But
because, I mean, talk about trigger buttons that have been installed.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're doing that in a whole room of people. I mean, wow. Yeah. But Byron Katie is Taoist. And her husband is the translator of my favorite translation. This is her husband, Stephen Mitchell. And I had no idea until but yeah, Byron Katie. So when we see the external as something, and when we show up with our wounds just all over our sleeves, you walk into a room where you're going to do that in a public way, like, oh my goodness. Yeah, for sure. I remember there was a conference with Greg Bear. It was the Astilamar retreat. And I was chosen to go up and he, what did he do? Is it Bear? Is that his name? But it was like unconditional acceptance of yourself. And oh my goodness, it was huge back then.
It clearly had an impact on you.
Yeah. So I sat, he was one of those inner child guys, and I sat on his lap, and I made the 600 people in the room with me laugh because he said something. He's like, pretend I'm your wife or your partner. And I said, well, you just got way better looking. And it made everybody laugh. And someone at the end of it came up to me and was like, you're so brave. And was talking to me like that. And a person overheard the conversation and come up and said, I don't think you were brave. I think you were being yourself. Because it didn't take courage for me to be a goofball on stage. I've been doing it since I was 4.
But you know what? The experience of your behavior would have been a brave, bold move for the person who said you were brave.
They could never have done that. Yeah.
I have, it's so funny because I do have it's like a fleeting memory of that, because I'm certain I was backstage.
You would have been backstage. Yep.
Yeah. But the challenge of having been the stage manager for so many of those conferences is that I didn't have the benefit of actually being able to pay attention to some of the presentations that were offered, because I was focused on stage management. And I loved being a stage manager. And, there's a part of me that wishes, I wish I had the opportunity to be on the other side of the, curtain, essentially.
Yeah.
Because I do have a fleeting memory of that.
Yeah, that was me. That was the year we met.
2012.
Yeah. AR, shortcut to seeking, cut out external endgame. The search always comes back to the internal process. Absolutely. Always. Yes. I love this too. If you're getting canceled, that's how you know you're up to something good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like you're having fun if you're getting canceled, for sure. Yeah. You're being yourself. And if other people can't handle you being yourself, I mean, that's been so much of my experience of people leaving my life. Yeah. They can't handle me. They can't handle my exuberant, enthusiastic nature. They can't handle me shifting and growing. They can't handle me changing my mind about something. They can't handle me figuring out I'm enough when I stand up to them. Like that's on them. It has you being canceled has nothing to do with you. It's how everybody perceives you. Right. So like how we started, right? You can either be a beautiful example or a horrible warning, you get to choose.
You get to choose.
Freedom.
You made me think too of like, because I'm the same way. Like I am authentically who I am. Take it or leave it. It's not to say that I will do it in a way that is purposefully disrespectful to anybody else. I do seek to be respectful, even with those who I have disagreements with. But I am authentically me. And, I think some people, like I say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because nobody is everybody's cup of tea. If you try to be all things to all people, you will be nothing to anybody.
That's right.
That's
Including yourself.
Indeed.
Yeah. Reverend Tammy always talks about it being like her superpower growing up used to be chameleon. She just became whatever someone else needed her to be. And so try to undo that, right? Yeah. It's crazy. And I've seen that in my life. Oh, you don't like it when I do this? Let me change me so that you can feel more comfortable. Mm-hmm. Right. So circling right back to the whole point of this, self-love is everything. Self-love, the journey to self-love is new thought. It is. That is the whole premise of new thought, being one with an infinite intelligent presence and knowing you are that.
Yeah.
What is anyone going to tell you that you don't already know about yourself when you know you're the divine? When you know you're sacred and precious and holy and good, who's gonna tell you something different and you believe them, right? That's why you love yourself. That's why you learn about yourself. That's why you discover your magnificence, so that whatever anything outside of you is doing or saying or being externally ain't no thing. You do you, and that's it. That's it. And the world will catch up or not.
Or not.
It's okay.
It is absolutely okay.
Yeah. Are you living your best life?
Yes.
Are you doing you well?
But also in a way that is not harmful to anyone else. That there is a caveat for me.
Absolutely.
And that is that I will choose to live my best life, provided that I am not harming anyone else in the process.
Yeah. And that golden thread is in every faith tradition.
Yeah.
And it harm none. Do what you will.
Yeah.
That's the golden thread in every faith tradition. So why is there so many beep, 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 beeps out there? Because we need to learn how to love ourselves first.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to be grumpy out there if you don't know how to love yourself.
I love this. You're about to put it up?
You got it?
No, you got it.
I got it.
You're in the driver's seat today.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to remember that we are established where we stand. No one else stands in your place.
That's yes. Right. Yep.
That's right.
Preach
we
it.
Cannot occupy the same space.
Mm-mm.
Think about that. We can be near each other, but we do not occupy the same space.
We cannot occupy the same space.
What a blessing.
What a blessing. Yeah. And I'm so grateful I'm the only one inside my mind. Whew.
Ooh, yeah.
Whew. So grateful. And you guys are grateful too. I know. Like, cause I'm a circus monkey juggling hamsters on a wheel with cymbals, like juggle cymbals.
Yeah.
That's my brain.
So I have a question for you. I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit.
Absolutely. Do
it. I'm not a big fan of resolutions personally, but I've decided that I have a theme that is going to guide my year, and that is this year I'm going to thrive in 25. That is my desire. Actually, we did the white stone ceremony in my community last Sunday.
Yeah.
And although I do say it is your choice, it is not a requirement to share what word you write on your stone. I'm going to share it here because this is what came up for me.
Freedom.
In the white stone ceremony. Freedom.
Yes, freedom.
And for me, freedom is the capacity to thrive beyond conditioning, beyond conditioning.
Yes.
And so that for me, my theme this year is Thrive in 25. Do you have a theme this year by any chance, Steph? Or have you given, I mean, you may not have given it any thought in the same way I did, so don't feel putting you on the spot.
I super wanted to rhyme with
Mhm.
2025. So it's alive to thrive in 25.
And so it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And, whoa, what
Oh.
just, that
What just happened there?
I switched things and apparently it did other things.
That was funny. I like that.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. I tried to get my social media stuff from the other side. Yeah. So what else we got here? Andy, I enjoyed this so much. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Andy.
You're so welcome. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to just rant with all of you and to chat it up. Yes.
Yeah.
So I do something different, and I don't know if I read this already. Everybody else has already taken. Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah. So I do have like a affirmations, I guess, more so than goals for this year. I am an example of inspired and conscious living. I am showing up as the best version of myself. I live a prosperous and peaceful life. I see a world of peaceful, loving people doing the very best they can, including myself.
And so it is.
And so it is. So that's just, I have been, oh, did I just get glossy? Wow. I have been limiting myself for years now. I have been, wearing a wet blanket of everybody else's goals and anticipations for things. I've been in this place where I just was not doing me well. And that enough meter got wiggled back into place in a sense, I guess. And so I just being that, like, all year, alive to thrive, like this is why I'm here, to be an example. I've known this my whole life. I have been given and blessed with experiences and messages and like all of that stuff that tell me I'm supposed to be doing this thing. And it's just about living it and living joyfully, like being the example that this teaching does work, being the example that affirmative prayer changes lives. And like, I haven't been already, but like, this year is just about being in that thriving energy, being in that abundance energy, being in the energy that allows a fulfilled life to explore itself through me, So I'm very excited. I've got a lot of stuff coming up. Oh my God, like my next week is crazy because everything's starting.
Yeah.
So like tomorrow I'm doing Soul Awakening Saturdays. So I'm going to do the first Saturday of every month, visioning for an inspired life to keep opening. So, and then next week I'm going to be starting a book that you highly recommended.
Yeah.
So we're teaching this class, Discover Your Divinity, a modern guide to affirmative prayer. And so my year is starting off amazing. It's going to be a whole amazing year. And just, I guess what I was saying back there was to get to this place of remembering I'm alive, remembering that I am alive to do this work and to thrive while doing it. And because the last 4 or 5 years have just been so heavy. I've been doing all of this extra lifting, and I'm like, why? But why am I carrying all this other stuff? And I have this thing inside of me that just kept coming up. I am cleaning up other people's messes, and I don't need to be.
No, you don't.
I just get to accept the mess and let them live in it, and focus on what's important to me. How do I change or be a beacon for a global community? By being a beacon in my own life, remembering. Look
Yep.
at the light. Look at the light. Look at the light. Yeah.
Be the light.
Yeah.
Be the light.
Katie's is mine to grow and thrive in 25.
Nice.
Yes.
Yes.
The greatest clarity is knowing the pearl you seek is already within you. It just needs to be unveiled. Yes, AR.
So it is.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So glad you're here today. Oh, yes. So so that's my year starting off crazy awesome. What's Unity of Tucson got going on? You doing any hybrid classes or things going on?
So I won't the next class that I'm intending to start is actually going to be in late February. My intention is to teach the prayer class, which basically is going to use the same book, Discover Your Divinity, because I'm ready to release even the previous books that are great books, but I'm ready to take on a more contemporary approach to teaching prayer.
Yeah.
As I always am. We have a healing circle coming up on January 29th. We have our annual meeting happening in January. So a lot of like January is like focused on the business aspects of running a spiritual center. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to put up what I showed you earlier. This is one of the exciting things that has happened. As of this Saturday, we have a joint. We're sharing our space with the Center for Spiritual Living community, and William, who's on right now, was instrumental in making sure that this new sign at the front of our property got put up. So, Unity of Tucson Spiritual Center, Center for Spiritual Living Tucson. We are sharing our campus here in Tucson, Arizona.
I love that it's on Unity Way.
Yeah, the street. Well, it's so funny because it's technically a private street, so it's not an official name of a street, but it shows up on Google Maps as Unity Way, even though what shows up on Google Maps that is listed as Unity Way is actually our service road, not the actual little road. I've tried to have Google change it, but they seem to not understand.
It takes them a minute.
Yeah.
But
that's an exciting thing that's happening now.
Collaboration and connection. That's beautiful.
We have a new member Sunday happening on a week from Sunday, on the 12th, which means we're going to be blessing those who have taken the leap to become active members of this community. And I always we do new member Sunday once a quarter, and I'm always grateful for our new members.
Nice. Love it. Well, I have a lot more Sundays available, so I've been watching.
Love it.
Yeah. I love it. So, it is a beautiful sign.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And like thinking of the word sign in multiple meanings, right? It's a beautiful sign that Unity and CSL can live together.
That we can thrive in a way that we're walking a parallel walk, that we don't have, a lot of people say, oh, are you just going to merge the communities? And I'm like, no. We get to maintain our identity. That is the magnificent thing about the divine, is that it is expressing itself in multiplicity through unique expression. And so we can be Unity and Center for Spiritual Living in the same physical space, but still maintain our unique identities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm super
excited. Awesome. Well, any last thoughts? We're 59 minutes. We are
right on the edge.
Yep. Chatty today.
Yeah, I have no additional. I always have thoughts. I could go on for probably another couple hours, but I also am honoring of the time frame that we have.
Yeah.
What is your YouTube? What is my YouTube these days? I don't even know what my YouTube is these days.
Did I do it in
Unity of Tucson is one of them. There is also, I think it's Tucson New Thought. If you look up Tucson New Thought or Dr. Jonathan Zenz on YouTube. And this streams to both locations. I have two YouTubes, but the primary one is probably Unity of Tucson. That's where most of the content I create goes on YouTube.
Yeah. We love our YouTube.
Except I don't like what they do with sound compression. That's a personal thing.
Didn't even know.
The sound compression for music not so good when you're on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you go to Unity of Tucson's website, our video archive page for our services, we always use our Vimeo feed because they don't do the same compression on the sound.
Yeah.
So it sounds better.
Awesome. Good to know.
Anyway, all the little technical details that I concern myself with. All right. I love you.
I love you. We love all of you watching. Thanks for sticking out for a whole hour of chatting and doing all of this good stuff. If you have a radically affirmative new thought you would like to share with us and have us discuss, we would love to hear it. Links and access to things are in the description of this post. And our email addresses are right here.
There.
If you need them.
Right there.
And we love to hear from you. We do. We love you. We love your growth, your consciousness, and your magnificence means everything to us. So Thanks for your time and your awareness today.
Peace and blessings. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.